My name is Uno and I'm host of today's English talk. Before we get started, please turn off your cell phone or put them on silent mode. Thank you. Nowadays, our students are confused because of their uncertain future. But students and I have to overcome these obstacles. Today's talk will help them to prepare their future. Today's talk is entitled Challenges Preparing to be Tomorrow's Leaders, a Youth Leadership and Ambassador Program. The speaker, Michael and Donna Fiechtner, are going to talk about the World Youth Ambassador Program. And you will get information about what the challenges are and how to overcome these obstacles. If you have any questions about today's talk, please write them down on the small sheet of your paper. When you arrive, you will give it. Then one of our talk volunteers will collect it for you, and Michael and Donna will have a chance to answer your questions during Q&A portion, which is led by one of our English volunteers. Without any further hesitation, please welcome Michael and Donna with a big round of applause.
Well, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
And it's wonderful to see you. My name is Michael.
I'm Donna, and please, we will speak really slowly because we are Australian, so our accent is different to American and British. We think it's best, but we will speak slowly just in case you can't understand.
We would like to thank you for allowing us to come and speak with you this afternoon. We had a wonderful experience in February of this year when students from Korea Foundation, along with Gwangju and Busan and a number of other areas, came to Brisbane in Australia, where we came from, to take part in a program to look at culture, to look at the future. The young people that came to Australia are the leaders of tomorrow. Donna and I are both school teachers. We have both been teaching for many years. And we now run a small business that looks at cultural opportunities across the world. And our job is about raising awareness of different cultures and looking to the future. Because as teachers, we know that the small students of today will be the future leaders of tomorrow. And they need to be prepared.
And we live in an island, a large island, Australia, but we are very separate to the rest of the world. So for us to travel, it takes a long time and a lot of money. So for our children from Australia, it is important for them to learn about Korea and America and Japan and Thailand and Nepal, because it's a big deal for us to leave the country that we love. As teachers and as teachers of English, we understand that children are like sponges. They take on languages, they take on cultures from other people easily. They have no fear, they're very confident. We also realise on the other side, as adults, we get scared. We don't like to make mistakes, but we want to reach out so badly, but sometimes our fear holds us back. So through our years we've lived in Japan for many years with our little children, and we watched our children take on a foreign language so quickly, so beautifully, so perfectly. And yet when we returned to Australia, they lost that total language. Every now and then when they visit, it comes back to them. So it's still in there. So for these children of the world, they're amazing. And they can teach us, as adults, how to stop being scared to take it on ourselves.
For the last 15 years, Donna and I have been involved in a number of international projects in Japan, in France and in Australia. And our focus is on looking at those cultural opportunities. So today, we would like to look at what these challenges are. We'd like to have a little look at the experience of the Korean children in Australia in February and talk about what culture and multiculturalism really is. It's sometimes hard to understand. We live in a world where cultures now, because of science, technology and travel, it's so easy to become multicultural. But what is it? What is it? Let's have a look. No. There we go. Oh, no, one more back. Sorry. Okay.
Now, we just researched in a recent paper from the Australian Parliament, what is multiculturalism? We are a young country. Korea has a magnificent history of many, many years. We only have a couple of hundred. So for our country, we have had lots of people coming from various cultures, and we're very proud of how we get along with each other.
So multiculturalism was a concept and a policy in Australia devised to respond to ethnic cultural diversity. So multiculturalism started in Australia a long time ago, but no one really knew it. It was there because of cultures coming together. Mass immigration in the 1930s and 40s after World War I, II, many people came from different countries to Australia. Germans, Italians particularly, and Greek people. And there was an immigration policy where, following that, the immigrants were expected to learn English, adopt Australian cultural practices, and become Australian quickly.
So that was, they expected them to become Australian.
Australian.
And so our question is, what is Australia?
What's Australia?
So in the 60s they developed that, and they started to say, we don't want the Italians to lose their identity as Italians. We want the Greeks to celebrate their cultural heritage. We don't want them to forget where they've come. They've come to Australia. We want to celebrate it and maybe mix it into our new identity as Australians. So gradually it developed. And now multiculturalism has become just a part of our lives where we're adopting practices from various cultures while we're trying to search for our personal identity as Australians. So Australians are not blonde hair and blue eyes. Australians are different colours of the rainbow, many different languages. And I know that when the children came on the trip in February, they were quite amazed at where are the Australians?
They went into a park. And a couple of them said to me, where are the Australians?
Because there were Japanese.
There were Japanese, Chinese, Korean, all sorts of different nationalities. And I said, you are looking at Australia. We don't really think about multiculturalism as something separate. Because Australia has a relatively short history, multiculturalism has become part of our life very quickly and very easily. It happens in our restaurant. We have restaurants like you guys have as well, but it's there. We don't really have to think about it because it is there. So multiculturalism is interesting, but what is it? Have a look at this. Oops.
That's it.
Okay, the next bit. Okay.
So we went through our senses. What is multiculturalism? It smells like Chinatown on a Saturday night cooking food. Through Sydney we have large Chinatown places, Sydney and Melbourne and Brisbane. It's strong Italian coffee when you're going through the laneways of St Kilda in Melbourne. The Italians gave us great coffee. I like your coffee, but we've got different sorts of coffee there too. And the smells just brighten you up as you're walking down the laneways. It's the grapes that are picked from French winemakers in the Yarra Valley. So these are places in Australia where our immigrants, where people from other countries have come and shared their talents and shared their knowledge from their country, and Australia has taken it on.
So it smells like that. It sounds like 3 or 4 languages on a city tram. Watching Korean news on SBS television. The Irish band marching down the street on St Patrick's Day. A class of children in a school of different backgrounds. When the Korean children came to Australia in February, they went to an Australian school. That school has got 65% foreign students. They are Australian people that now call Australia home, but they have foreign backgrounds. 65%. Some of the kids actually said, again, where are the Australian kids? They are here. So we don't really make that, as Donna said at the beginning, Australian kids aren't blonde-haired, if you've still got hair, and blue-eyed. They are made up of nationalities from all over the world. An Indian taxi driver, the didgeridoo, Aboriginal made a didgeridoo at a country market, or a call to prayer at a Muslim mosque. All those things happen every day in Australia. Very, very simply. It sounds like. I'm not good at this.
No, it's not very good.
I'm not good at all this at all.
So. No, you're going backwards. Okay. Stop. Next one.
There you go.
It looks like people going to a barbecue with naan breads and Indian breads, spaghetti, Vegemite sandwiches. We love our Vegemite. Vegemite sandwiches by the beach on a hot summer day. It looks like kids and adults playing cricket in the backyard after a Christmas lunch. We love our cricket too, which comes from England. It looks like South Bank, which is a place in Brisbane, a little in the centre of the city with the beach and restaurants, with tourists swimming and resting in the parklands. And it looks like a Korean student going to the University of Queensland and being the top of her class.
And we had a number of students in previous years who have come from different countries, and they've gone to high school in Australia. And they have achieved incredible results. They have become part of the Australian education system. They've come for maybe 5 years. They've studied at high school. They've gone on to university. And they have achieved top marks in Australia. So they have become part of the Australian culture.
Oh, he's
There we go. Right, we've done that.
We've done that.
So, multiculturalism is a concept. It's a concept that articulates a whole lot of things. Social justice. Multiculturalism is about social justice. It's about identities, different identities from all over the world. It's about appreciation of diversity. Good things come from diversity. We can learn a whole lot from each other. Integration of migrants who come to call our country their home. Nation building. It's really important that as a nation that is made up of many different people, they can become part of building that nation to a great country that Australia has
And we
become.
are young, so we are still building our nation. We have much to do.
Just 200, 300 years is our history, our white foreign history. Before that, our Indigenous history is many thousands of years old. And at the beginning of the white, I suppose, presence in Australia, that Indigenous culture was pushed down. Today, it is being raised to become part of our culture. So, if we talk about Australian culture, it's about Aboriginal culture, it's about Vietnamese culture, it's about Japanese culture, it's about Korean culture, it's about European, all joining together to build that nation.
So it's what we call a melting pot, a big pot with everyone in together. It is not easy, and we aren't doing it perfectly.
No.
We have many problems. And I think one of the problems is the recognition of our Aboriginal people and acknowledging their gifts and their talents. So every day we work hard to accept each other and to make a new beginning for a young country.
And I think we are also a little lucky because our history is so short. In Korea, your history is quite long, and you have a history that has been a troubled history for so long also. And you have had many different things occur in Korea that have affected the way people react and relate to one another. In Australia, ours was almost like a blank wall that we're able to start painting on. And so we have been lucky to be able to build that picture.
And people came to Australia. So it was an island with Aboriginal people, but people decided to come there to start new lives. So we were lucky that way too. But we are still a work in progress. Oh, here we go.
Button.
Slowly.
Right. Okay, so we all recognise how important multiculturalism is. It is. We live in a world that is so easy to get to. I can get on a plane tonight and be in Australia tomorrow morning. It always amazes me that when you get on a plane today, you start in one country with a whole lot of different, and tomorrow you're somewhere else. And that can happen so quickly. Our children tomorrow are going to have that so quickly. Globalisation has brought us close together. Information technology, the computer, the phone. Our son lives in Canada. We talk to him twice a day via FaceTime.
We talked to him and his fiancée this morning, and she was leaving Vancouver to travel to Toronto, and we were leaving Busan to travel to here. Our daughter is in Australia, so then we FaceTimed her. So within half an hour, we jumped the whole world.
Very, very quickly. And your children, the students and the young people of our world, they live in this world incredibly.
And they're already doing that, aren't they? They're walking. I saw them walking to school this morning on their phones. And even as teachers, we say, please put your phone away. You need to listen. It is difficult.
Yes.
This generation is amazing.
Yesterday, years ago, it took a long time to get news. Today, you see the news as it happens. That has got to affect the way the future generations will develop. It has to affect. Democratisation. Many countries in the world have changed dramatically over the last 10 years. They have gone from different types of government to democracies to different types of government again. And that also has an effect. So we live in this world where these three things permeate everything. What are we to teach our kids for tomorrow? How will they become the leaders of tomorrow in all of this here where we are a multicultural society? So we need to build the challenges towards that.
No.
Ah! Okay.
So what can we do to help? We identify where it's happening. We say, well, look, we're all together here. And the Italian people have this, the Italian people who came to Australia were great stonemasons. So Australian people learnt those talents. So identifying it, not ignoring it. Acknowledging that it's part of our lives.
Who has got different talents in each culture? What can we pull from each culture to make a world that is that melting pot? That is the new world.
Developing an understanding of other stories. As people who have lived in a foreign country, when we first arrived we were unable to speak the language. It was really difficult for us to understand the words, but we understood the touch and the smile and the open body. We understood this, we understood that. So it's getting used to listening to someone else's story and then understanding where they're coming from so that you can move forward together.
A warning though. I think that in a world of technology that has become so wonderful, we must never ever lose the touch, the face-to-face. It's so easy to be able to even study online. You can get a degree from a university by studying on a computer. But can you actually debate with your lecturer or professor about topics face to face? Advice can be given by a computer. Our daughter, again, sometimes has wonderful chats with her friends, and she will come to us and say, "Oh my God, they don't understand me." And I said, well, maybe go and talk to them face to face. A little warning, in amongst all that, we must never forget that. That's why it is important in our space. We love to have people come and visit face to face. When the students came to Australia in February, they had a small homestay. That was worth $1 million, I think, because the one day that they had to share with that family was most important. The one day that they spent in the school talking to the kids face to face from another country was most important. Yes, they could do it online, but nothing can take away that face to face. And because our world is so close together now, let's not forget that we can do that face to face more. Don't just leave it to technology.
To be willing to build a bridge between both to form a new and stronger identity. So be proud of who you are, listen to their story, and together create a new direction. And to take time, we're all very impatient, and technology is one of the most wonderful things. I want my groceries, where is my mother? We can't wait. And I know the younger generation, they want a car, they buy it today, they pay it off in Australia. Lots of credit cards, buying things, I want it now. Take patience. Interpersonal relationships take time, and they're worth it. But you can't make these things change overnight. Culture is a very intricate entity. You can't change it quickly.
And it takes time. I think even the building of a multicultural society, our world, takes time. Some of the mistakes that have been made in the world have been because it's been done too quickly. I think in some other parts of the world where democracy has been seen as a wonderful thing, sometimes it has been done too quickly instead of taking time to gain knowledge, get an appreciation, have an understanding.
And then to realise you might take 2 steps forward and 1 step back. You can't keep going forward. You will fall back, but you have to get up again for the greater good and try.
So, in February, we had some wonderful children from Korea, young adults, come to Australia as part of a youth ambassador program. The purpose being for these young people to start a journey towards leadership for the future. And we believe that the experience that those kids had was the beginning of the journey, because they were able to embody all those things that we've talked about in multiculturalism in just 1 week. It was too short. But in 1 week, they were able to experience so much. They looked at another culture.
Yeah, and they related to others and used English. They became aware of what's possible within themselves too. I can, for example, have a go, which is an Australianism, have a go, having confidence in that. Like, if I make a mistake saying this word, are they going to think I'm really stupid or I'm not worthy? We will be proud of you for trying. So stepping outside of the comfort zone and having a go and just being open to the multicultural experience.
I think there are many occasions when, because as human beings, we are very hard on ourselves. We like to achieve and be number one. We like to make sure that we make no mistakes. And sometimes we get very embarrassed when we make a mistake. In Australia, as Donna said, we have that saying, have a go. Have a go, mate. It means don't be frightened about having a mistake. Don't be frightened. Don't be too quick to say, oh, that's wrong. Because by making mistakes, we learn. And by learning, we become better. And we can become more developed.
In my school in Brisbane, I teach in an elementary school. And one of our biggest mantras in the school is mistakes are our friends. And children hate to make mistakes. And I got that wrong, I got that wrong. And we said, what do we say? Mistakes are our friends. Because they are.
They are.
We keep learning.
And we should not be frightened. We should not think that and be embarrassed. We need to make more mistakes.
And Australians are really good at laughing
Yes.
at you. If you make a mistake, they'll really take you for a ride. But you have to be strong enough to drag yourself up and start again.
And I know in many cultures that's a hard thing. It's a really hard thing. People get embarrassed, people withdraw, and we have seen students who we have been teaching English or other things to, and the students, because they don't think they are good enough, have stopped. They've stepped back and they've stopped. And we've had to bring them back in and say, hey, woo, it's okay. Have a go. And for us, my language skills are very poor. Very poor. English is okay. But
He's very loud.
Donna's language skills are much better than mine. But for me, that relational aspect, you can do so much. You don't have to speak the other language. You can actually have a heart-to-heart discussion because of your manner, your confidence, and the way that you encourage one another.
But then, the biggest buzz that I ever get is talking in another language to another person and knowing that they've understood me. And in Korea, in Japan, and around here, you're so gracious when we make a mistake with your language. You're very kind. I have been to other countries where I have tried, I won't say, I
we
have
have
tried...
been in France. France is a lovely country, but they don't like you talking in French.
Because we don't do it very well. And their language is very important to them, and many times I have tried and I have been corrected. And so that stopped me from talking. But when we travel in Korea and Japan and places around here, I can make a complete mess of what I'm saying, and you beautiful people will say, you speak it very well, and I know that is not true, but I'm very conscious of your graciousness. So even just to promote someone for trying, that's a good start.
It's a great start. So don't be frightened to make a mistake. So the study tour for 1 week to Australia I think it was an absolute success, a great success. We saw students who were very shy when they arrived. After just 1 week, they were actually starting to speak more confidently. And one student, at one of the forums we had, asked a question in English without us even... We had a translator that was helping, but this young lady stood up and asked her question in English. To me, that was the most confident moment that I saw in those students, because she felt safe enough to get up and say, I'm going to have a go.
And we know that inside she was really nervous.
She was thinking, have I got the right language? Is it right?
But we also know afterwards she would have been saying, yeah, I did that.
So the students had a great time. They did some wonderful things. You see them here in the school, at the beach, with the kangaroo, at one of the universities, with students at another school over here. You know, like for 5 minutes it took to bond with those students. The Australian students just loved it. They loved having the opportunity, and the Korean students we can see also loved the chance to have that mix. And they asked about normal things like, what do you do after school? And the Korean kids said, oh, we've got to go to cram school and we probably don't get home till 7 o'clock. And the Australian kids said, oh my God, we go home at 3 o'clock and sit in front of the TV. And all the Korean kids said, we're coming to Australia. But the simple learning was just unbelievable in those opportunities. Okay, so we would like to be part of establishing a World Youth Ambassador Program. We want these kids and other kids from around the world to get together more often. We want a United Nations of kids. And we see that happening on a small scale. The kids had a taste, just a taste, in 1 week. We'd like to see them maybe have some in-depth experiences, maybe 2 weeks, where they get to spend time in a school and they get to spend more time with a family and learn more about the culture and language. Include some other places. We've got some contacts in France, Nepal and a few other places that I believe kids can learn a lot from other kids. Kids are so, as Donna said, they're sponges and they have no preconceived notions. Us adults, we've sort of ruined ourselves a little bit because we have these thoughts in the back of our mind, you can't do this, you can't do that. Kids don't have that. And if you develop that, it becomes better. Develop projects around cultures using technology. There are lots of schools that we know in Australia that would love to interact, to start, using Skype, just so that they can keep in touch. And particularly Korea and Australia, there is only 1 hour time difference. It's really easy for children here in Korea in a school to talk to children in an Australian school. Okay, we've got some advice now from some famous Australians.
The first one is Bindi Irwin. Australia becomes very famous for very strange reasons. We had a wonderful man called Steve Irwin, the crocodile hunter.
Yeah.
He used to go hunting crocodiles and rolling in the water.
Do you remember him?
He was killed about 10 years ago when he was actually in the water with a large mantis stingray and the barb went through his heart and he died in the water. This is his daughter Bindi, who's talking about leadership.
She's giving out some advice to young people.
Please.
This is advice.
Always believe. That's the greatest advice I can give to you. Never give up. I have a quote here by John Quincy Adams, and he was the President of the United States of America. He was the 6th President, I believe. He said, if your actions inspire others to dream more, learn more, do more, and become more, you are a leader. And I truly believe that every single person in this room are tomorrow's leaders.
Learn more, dream more, do more. That's advice that she's giving to some young people.
For tomorrow's leaders.
For tomorrow's leaders. Where are we? Are we there? Okay. Okay, so what is the future going to be like for the kids? What is it going to be like tomorrow? What problems are our young people going to have that they're going to have to deal with in this multicultural world?
It's not just our young people, we have it too.
We have it too.
We have it every day. These are the consequences of trying to bring various kinds of nations and peoples together. It's natural. Racism. Tension.
Being a conduit of change. If you want to change people, that's hard sometimes. People get fearful of you being someone who wants to change things too quickly. So you've got to work within that. Misunderstanding of messages. If you go out starting to change people too quickly, people get very worried about that.
So choose your words correctly.
Very carefully.
Choose them carefully.
Delicate issues. There are a lot of interesting issues that need very careful tiptoeing around. You can't just talk about something to a group of people about some issue that has got maybe some deep-seated
Religious significance or cultural.
social issues from the past. Challenge ideas of what it means to be Korean. Well, for you guys, the idea of looking to the past, and for the kids that came to Australia, we challenged them to look to their past and to see what their past was about, because the past informs the future, and that's important. And older generations, we older folk, we don't appreciate the wisdom of the youth. We often say we're the ones that have got it all right. Maybe we need to listen to the youth a little more and work together. There must be respect for all cultures. Technology doesn't replace face-to-face. It's easy to use, but must be only used as a tool.
The next one is a big one. We know through running various exchange programs when children or students or adults go to another culture, they go into that culture and say, oh, I like this, I like that, oh yeah, I like that. They come back to their culture and they feel lost or misunderstood or confused. So it's that process of accepting what they like in another culture, but also realising what they like in their culture and putting the two together.
It's not about replacing.
No.
It's about
making a
putting
new
together a new idea. The next one, please. The next one. This is another piece of advice. This young lady, I think it's a young lady. Dr. Fiona Wood. No, next one. That one. This is a woman in Australia who's got a lot of advice to give to the young people.
She's got an American.
Okay.
Find what your gift is and share it. Don't keep it hidden. How often have you done something less than your best so everybody around you was a bit more comfortable when you could have done better? Isn't that a waste of energy? As a leader, you need to help others find their gifts and help them share it.
Help others find their gifts and share it. So in other words, don't be worried about what other people have to say. Work with your people around you. Share the gifts that they have. Other people have wonderful gifts that they can share to help our culture.
So it has to be real. True multiculturalism is about letting go and going in a new direction. Experiential learning is the best, so that's in connection with technology. Respect for your older generations. There's a lot of wisdom from the older generations, and that disappears very quickly. We need to take that with us. Listen to their stories, because the past must inform the future.
One more. This one is a young lady who was an Olympian, an Australian Olympian. We're nearly there.
I came home and I had the chance to meet lots of school children who cheered me on. I've spoken to lots of different groups and people see me as an inspiration. And that's why. Why me? I'm young, I'm 18. You know, that didn't make sense to me. But just because you're young, it doesn't mean you can't influence someone. It doesn't mean you can't inspire someone. And it doesn't mean you can't make a change. You can do all of those things if you're young. It could just mean in your class, in your school, in your community. And I couldn't believe that people were seeing me as a leader because I was never school captain or in SRC at school because I thought you needed a title to be a leader. But you lead by your attitude and your values and for standing up for what you believe in and for dreaming big and not being afraid to do so. And in doing that, you're inspiring and empowering others around you to do that. And I always think that you should always just keep trying, keep smiling, keep enjoying yourself because you never know who you're inspiring. And if I can inspire one person to chase a dream, to just be a better person and keep improving themselves and doing the best that they can, then that's really rewarding for me.
So it's about inspiring people. So giving confidence to inspire others. So it's not just about making a difference, it's about inspiring others. So be brave enough.
So through your attitude and the way you feel about life.
So a few thoughts just at the end. We've got 2 minutes. Multiculturalism has taken hold in Australia. We're still building a nation and an identity. We're not there. We're still building. And the kids that we've had from Korea that came to Australia, they can help build an identity also by being the leaders of tomorrow through the challenges that they overcome. We have people coming to make a fresh start every day. In Korea you have people coming. These young, wonderful young people here are making fresh starts from all over the world that have come here to this place to help improve multiculturalism. Everyone wants to be there.
And that's true with anywhere. If a person chooses to go to a country, They want to be there. So that's an energy that can be used in a positive way.
So there needs to be a definition. Korean society has just begun the journey. You guys have just begun a journey, really. Even though thousands of years of history, the kids that came to Australia, I think, have just begun the journey.
And like Michael has said, it wasn't just the children, the Korean kids who learned, our Australian
Yes.
kids learned too. Lots of lessons.
So don't think it's one way, it's two ways. And there is so much learning to achieve, but the challenge is to open the minds of the young to accept the call to make that global society. The young people have a chance to be part of a society that we don't even know what it's going to be like. But they have the chance to be there. And we want to encourage them to be there. The last thing we want to show is a little bit of a video. This one, Mr. Tim Costello is a very famous Australian who works a whole lot of different roles in Australia about environmental issues and everything. His little story here for the last thing that we will talk about is about taking one step at a time. Listen to his story.
I wrote a book last year called Hope, and the first story I tell in this book is about a father who was a coal miner. And he's decided to take his son down the coal mine. And whilst they're deep in the bowels of the earth, the lights fail. And the generator fails, and it's pitch blackness. And the father says to the son, "Wait here. I'm going down about 200 metres along the tunnel to try and fix the generator and get these lights back on." And the son, who's only about 6 or 7, starts crying and saying, "Don't leave me, Dad, don't leave me." And he says, "No, you'll be okay." The father heads off down the tunnel, gets to the generator, can't actually get it going, can't get the lights on. So he shouts from the end, "Son, I'm down here, start walking toward me." And his son, literally terrified, says, "I can't, it's pitch black, I can't, come and get me, I can't." And the father says, "Has your helmet on?" "Yes." "Is the light on your helmet still on?" The son says, "Yes, but it only throws a foot of light, I can't see any further than a foot." And the father says to him, "Take one step." And he does. And he stops and he starts crying again, "It's pitch black, Dad, come and get me." He says, "Is the light still on?" "It's only 1 foot," the son cries. "Take one more step." Coaching him step by step. Eventually the son is reignited in the strong, embracing arms of his father. That has always been a very important story for me when I think about the future, and when you think about the future. There's a whole sense in which you say, "I want to know the plan, and where's this going to arrive, and what course should I choose, and if I make a wrong decision, maybe my life's really ruined." Natural to have those fears and those anxieties. However, my advice is just take the step with the light you've got. You don't see way ahead. It is unknown. It is like pitch blackness in the tunnel. Just take one step.
So, the journey to multiculturalism and the journey for our young people to become leaders of tomorrow is one step at a time. We don't know the end, but because we don't know the end, it isn't wrong. We learn along the way.
And if we each take one step, eventually we will meet up and we can step together into the future, whatever it holds. Thank you.
Thank you very much.